It is now November, and with that, Xbox have provided us with the news of the next Xbox Game Pass drop and what we can really expect in the lineup over the next couple of weeks. There are a ton of games here to get excited for, with about 15 games for us to play. So with that, my name is Fletcher, and this is Xbox Nation, and let's dive right into it. First up, we do have a couple of games that have landed onto Xbox Game Pass as of today, and these are 1000 Times Resist and Football Manager 26. For me, 1000 Times Resist is one that I know many of you are actually really excited for, but I won't lie, it looks really peculiar and has a very unique art style which I'm not too fond of. What I do know though is that this has won a ton of fans over with its innovative and branching story of a future timeline where the remaining members of humanity essentially live underground in the aftermath of an alien invasion. On Metacritic, it currently does sit with an impressive 86 Metascore, while over on Steam it holds an overwhelmingly positive rating from over 4,000 reviews. It is safe to say that this one will definitely be worth checking out if you do get the chance this November. Then, to keep it quite brief, as I know that many of you actually know what this game really does entail, we have Football Manager 26. After a 2-year-long hiatus from the gaming sphere, the super popular game about football and spreadsheets is finally back, and I know quite a few fans are actually hyped beyond belief for this one. Of course, this does include some massive updates to the UI, visuals, player behaviour, and so much more, and it does look like the most comprehensive Football Manager game we've ever seen. I have heard some murmurs though that the game is a little bit broken, which left a few diehards who tried the beta a little bit worried, but I would still recommend diving into it on Xbox Game Pass if it does interest you. Now, onto the newer game announcements, and we finally had a launch date for Dead Static Drive, and it is landing for all Ultimate and PC members on the 5th of November. This one has actually been described by the devs as Grand Theft Cthulhu, and that's because it's an indie horror game that follows a road trip, but with that sort of old school GTA isometric perspective. This one does take place though in 1980s in Americana, and it's some weird fiction with loads of uncanny eldritch themes. There doesn't seem to be many other details out there regarding the gameplay loop, as the game did kind of go silent for quite some time, and I'm actually quite surprised we actually got a release date so suddenly. I know the demo was extremely positive over on PC, and I did actually quite enjoy it when I got my hands on it. I'm really super pumped for this one, and it does land onto Xbox Game Pass this week. As someone who's been starting to play a little bit more over on my PC recently, I've actually been looking forward to the PC Game Pass editions for this November, and first up we have Whiskerwood on the 6th of November via Game Preview. If you're unfamiliar with this one and haven't caught it in my previous videos, it essentially has you establishing a brand new home for some industrious mice, and they're all living under the tyrannical rule of some cat overlords. In this city builder, you basically have to explore some untamed lands, grow crops, and gather all manner of commodities, and that's all whilst keeping your mouse folk happy, and then of course meeting the intense demands of your feline rulers. It's essentially a very different take on games like Anno, but with some very weird and wonderful creatures to look after instead of people. I do hope it lands pretty well, and currently the early previews have been insanely positive as of so far. The release of Egging On is just around the corner, and I for one actually couldn't be happier to see this one on Xbox Game Pass, and I can tell it's going to cause a lot of laughs. This one is actually lined up for the 6th of November, and it really is in prime position to be one of the funniest games you've ever had a chance to play this year. In this adventure, you basically take control of an egg that doesn't want to be brought to the shop or even turned into someone's meal. Instead, all it wants to do is climb to the top of the world, and we'll have to do stuff like rolling and jumping in various themed challenging climbing environments and carefully crafted levels. It is very reminiscent to me of games like I Am Bread, so I fully expect tons of frustrating moments as you crack on the floor. I probably won't go for the 1000 gamer score if it's anything like I Am Bread, so I have a feeling this one's going to be an absolute hell to get all of those achievements. For the love of God, please do not sleep on Voidtrain this month, as this game is utterly fantastic and such an absolute blast. Think of something like Sea of Thieves, but set in a mysterious void, where you can float around, gain resources, take on enemies in PvE combat, and so much more. This game has a real potential of being something quite special, especially if the devs have put so much work into making this such a great experience. I've actually been playing this one for a review, which I should have out within the next couple of days, and I've spent so many hours within the Void solo, and it's one of my favourite indies for this year. In fact, I've actually been showing you gameplay of my time with it so far on screen for you now, and the fact that you can build your own train and do what you want is just so fantastic. It arrives onto Xbox Game Pass on the 7th of November, and I can guarantee you this is a major highlight for this month. Released about a year ago now, Great God Grove is finally arriving onto Xbox Game Pass. It's a really decent strategy title that's actually garnered quite a lot of praise across all platforms. It is a unique blend of mythology and strategy, all set in a world where divine beings must come together to stave off an impending apocalypse. There is a twist this time though, as the god responsible for communication diplomacy has essentially gone missing, and the remaining gods are left bickering and divided. It actually does a very good job of combining stuff like tactical strategy elements with a more humorous and story-rich narrative, and it looks to blend myth and satire quite perfectly. The game also offers multiple paths and solutions depending on how you choose to approach each situation, which is quite good to see. With its colourful art style, incredibly witty dialogue, and an engaging take on mythology, Great God Grove is a refreshing twist on this strategy genre, and it's great to see it finally come to Xbox Game Pass. We did have the inclusion of Guardian of Light a couple of weeks back now, but now Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris is coming to Xbox Game Pass for all Ultimate and Premium members on the 11th of November. This is actually a direct sequel to that first entry, and it takes you back into the 4-player co-op experience once again as Lara and the gang. This time though, you're delving into the depths of multiple temples and defeating hordes of enemies in the Egyptian underworld. Like the first game, there are a lot of puzzles for you to solve, and that's all whilst avoiding deadly traps and so much more. I won't lie, I'm not the biggest fan of these sort of spin-off Lara projects, but I do know they can be decent fun if you have a group of mates to play with. Again, it comes to Xbox Game Pass on the 11th of November if you are interested. It might be a bit weird, but who hasn't dreamed of being a pigeon and causing chaos within a city? Well, just me? Well, I feel a bit odd now. Pigeon Simulator then is exactly what this sounds like. It's a comedic open world sandbox where you're a time-travelling pigeon just aiming to prevent a dystopian goose uprising, and it looks bloody insane. In this game, you'll be flying around town, scavenging for food, and just causing mayhem, from dive-bombing pedestrians to knocking over trash cans. What looks to set the simulator apart though is obviously the humour and unpredictability, as every item you eat could give you strange powers, from mind control to summoning swarms of other pigeons. To me, this is kind of exactly what we see in stuff like Goat Simulator, so if you like that game, you will no doubt fall in love with Pigeon Simulator. It's going to be chaotic, ridiculous, and it does land on the Xbox Game Pass very, very soon. The release of the super cute and cozy looking survival game known as Winter Burrow is almost upon us, and I know this one is actually quite anticipated by a few of us in our Xbox Nation Discord server. Link to that in the comments below. As you can probably see, and quite obviously, this is a survival game, but it's taken a more cozy approach to the genre, as you play entirely at your own pace and can customize your own burrow and your character to fit your needs. To give us some semblance of a story though, essentially your aunt, who was supposed to be looking after your childhood home, has gone missing, and then of course it's up to you to find her, restore your home, and make sure you don't succumb to the horrid weather and the creatures within the world. I can't wait for this one, and I feel this will be an awesome indie gem to play, especially if you have the Xbox ROG Ally handhelds. I was personally never familiar with Relic Hunter's Legend before this announcement of upcoming Game Pass games, but upon doing some digging, this actually seems right up my alley. It is a top-down looter RPG shooter, it's a bit of a weird combo, and is actually said to take inspiration from JRPG classics, which I never expected, and again, it's sort of weird to say that in the same sentence. It kind of has a lot of similarities though to Deep Rock Survivors, which also released about a month ago now, as you essentially dive into different worlds, take on enemies, get powerful loot, and repeat. What is cool though is that this one can actually be played in 4-player co-op, so you can dive in with your friends at any time. It is currently sitting at mixed reviews over on Steam at the moment, but that's due to the co-op not existing within the story mode, which is actually quite disappointing, but I do hope the devs rectify that within the near future. Overall though, it does seem pretty solid, and it does land on the Xbox Game Pass on the 12th of November. Of course though, the largest release out of this entire batch of Xbox Game Pass games for this Wave 1 has to be Call of Duty Black Ops 7, and although it has been heavily disliked by many across the board from YouTube videos and so much more, it's still going to be one of the largest releases of this year. This one though of course includes the campaign, multiplayer and zombies, but this year they're actually including leveling and weapon XP and so much more into one synchronous experience. This essentially means you can level up your gear, weapons and your overall level no matter the mode, which is pretty odd to see. For me, I always love diving into the campaigns, as I do with every single Call of Duty every single year. However, the idea of a sort of PvE sort of experience at the end of the game does have me pretty worried. Even so, the multiplayer beta was pretty solid for the most part, but it's just very safe, and I kind of wish we had so much more innovation from the Call of Duty series. Still, it does launch with a ton of maps and seasonal content, and you can dive into it and play it with Ultimate and PC Game Pass on the 14th of November. If you are a premium member though, you're also getting an additional game to your library alongside a few of those that have already been mentioned in this video, and it has to be Sniper Elite Resistance. This is actually the newest one within the franchise and has you playing as a brand new protagonist named Harry Hawker, and of course he is delving into France to stop that Nazi war machine. Overall, the sentiment was actually pretty positive on this one, even though for me it was more of a DLC. Still, there was no major improvements compared to Sniper Elite 5, but why improve on that formula if you've already nailed it? Still, it is a decent edition, and you can start playing it as of the 5th of November. In case you missed it as well, we did have a few games that are now available on Xbox Game Pass. One of these was a pretty awesome shadow drop, which I did mention on the channel via a community post, and the other two are some great games which include some lovely perks for Ultimate members. The first shadow drop was Pacific Drive, and for me this was an outstanding inclusion into the Xbox Game Pass library that you need to try just right away. If you remember, this game actually first launched all the way back in February of 2024 for both the PlayStation 5 and PC. It has a really unconventional approach though to its gameplay, as it essentially pits you against supernatural dangers while navigating through the fictitious Olympic exclusion zone of the Pacific Northwest region, and as all whilst keeping your car in a good state of repair. The game, as I mentioned, is now available with Xbox Game Pass for premium and ultimate members, and it's one incredible shadow drop that none of us were really expecting. No matter which tier you're on though, so long as you're playing on PC or via the Xbox Ally handheld, Xbox Game Pass subscribers can grab a bunch of rewards by playing Albion Online. This free-to-play MMO has actually been available on the Xbox PC app since the 8th of October, so anyone with a Microsoft account can basically jump in whenever they like. Still, you'll be able to gain the following in-game benefits if you link your Game Pass subscription. If you've never heard of it though, Albion Online is essentially a fantasy MMO that launched all the way back in 2017, and it is one that will feel pretty familiar to anyone who's ever played games like World of Warcraft. It's been pretty consistently popular over on PC and smartphone since then, and it's a little less fussy than other MMOs on the market. I've only actually been trying this one pretty recently, and it is pretty fun, so it's still worth checking out if you do get the chance. Then, out of nowhere, the studio that is known for games like My Time at Portia shadow dropped something you would never have expected. You may remember a game called Knockout City or even Rocket League, but now we do have a brand new contender called Super Bowl, which is a new free-to-play 3 vs 3 arcade hero football game that's out now. Super Bowl is actually being described as a mashup between Rocket League and Overwatch, as it has hero character elements to it. As Xbox Game Pass subscribers on both Ultimate or PC though, you instantly unlock all 16 heroes. It's been also said that every season in year 1 you'll also get 10 battle pass levels, 500 nano gold and 5 lucky cards. I don't know what that is, but it seems pretty great. I don't know how well this game plays, so you have to let me know if you played it in the comments below. Unfortunately though, with it being a brand new wave of Xbox Game Pass games, we do have some leaving the Xbox Game Pass library, and as I did mention in yesterday's news video, we have a very big hitter that is leaving on the 15th of November. The games leaving are Blacksmith Master, Football Manager 24, Frostpunk, Spirity, and Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl. Yes, Stalker 2 is a massive removal, and I'm pretty gutted that it's going so soon. Do make sure to buy it with your discount as soon as you can, or just wrap up the games here if you are playing them before the 15th of November. How would you rate the first wave of Xbox Game Pass games this November? You'll have to let me know down below. Remember to like this video if you enjoyed it and found it helpful, and do subscribe for more Xbox updates, Game Pass news, and so much more every single day. With that, and if you do want to check out another Xbox video, why don't you check out the one on screen now. As I mentioned, I did cover the news over the past week as of yesterday, and it's well worth checking it out as there was a ton of great news coming to us on our Xbox consoles.